get him, you got him. You got to knock him out. Do it, Larry. Before you get knocked out, you ain't nothing. You ain't nothing.
Here he is, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, Larry.
You stand in the corner and you referee calls you out. The whole move change.
It is Larry, a look of confidence, a look of determination.
I'm trying to look through him, look right through him, put fear into him. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear your head off. And then after the referee said, okay, shake hands, come back fighting, I said, let's have a good fight. When I fought on the chambers and beat him, I was lucky. He beat Kenny Norton, I was lucky. When I beat Ali, he was an old man. I never got credit.
In our special Larry Holmes interview, first of all, before we speak to Larry, we reflect on Larry Holmes' early career, his education, his family background, and how he first of all got into the sport of amateur boxing and how he got to spar with Muhammad Ali.
We lived in a house that you could look underneath because up on the blocks, we had to go outside to get our water, go outside to use the bathrooms. We lived like poor people lived.
We also learn about Larry Holmes' early life. Being the son of a sharecropper, he moved to eastern Pennsylvania at a very young age, and getting used to Larry's new lush surroundings at the time was a surprise to him.
Well, it was like something I never seen. You had sidewalks, you had streets, we had a toilet we could have flushed, we had a bathtub we could take a bath in. My mom, she would take bread out of her mouth to put in our mouth, make sure that we had something to eat. That's the kind of mother I had.
Before we speak to Larry Holmes in person, we learn about that Larry, at a young age, working out at his local boxing gym, met a retired boxer called Ernie Butler. And Ernie Butler had a big stepping stone in shaping Larry Holmes' future World Heavyweight Championship career. And we also hear about Larry Holmes' getting the chance to spar with Muhammad Ali.
He told me how to throw a punch, how to block a punch, and how to duck a punch, and how not to take a punch. Ali put his hands up like this, and I hit his hand. He said, boy, you're fast. Let's do some exhibition. I got an exhibition. You do exhibition with me. I said, I'm glad you. You know how good I felt when I came back home. I didn't have to walk like this. I walked like this. I walked with my head up. I walked with a lot of pride. Even though I got beat up, I had a lot of pride.
So I'm now joined on the line by Larry Holmes to look back on his iconic boxing career and to look back at many of his achievements. And Larry, if I can start off by asking you, in relation to the opportunity to fight Ken Norton, what's your memories of the Ken Norton fight?
Well, I got the opportunity to fight Ken Norton when I beat Ernie Shavers. I had to flip, it was the box off, and I had to fight the number one contender. And that was Kenny Norton. He was the number one contender, and then that will be for the heavyweight championship of the world. Therefore, we fought. We had 15 good rounds of fighting, and I come out victoriously. So therefore, I won the championship, and that's the way it's been for a long time that I have held that championship.
Yeah, and I suppose, Larry, in the earlier times you were starting off, you worked as a sparring partner with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, and then, as you said, the opportunity came about after you beat Ernie Shavers. But working with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and being under their tutelage and learning from world champions, how did it prepare you for a rite of passage when you became a world champion yourself in Ken Norton? How did that stand to you?
Well, that prepared me very well to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. I just Kenny Norton because I had worked with Muhammad Ali and with Joe Frazier, with Ernie Shavers. I worked with those guys, and I showed me. that I was able to do what I could do, and they gave me an opportunity to show it. And then when I showed, I came out victoriously, and I became the heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
Yeah, and Larry, I suppose you went on what is sort of phenomenal feat then in relation to numerous fights, 48 fights in a row, and beat some real top drawer names. And in relation to some of them, even you became very close friends with. You had an epic sort of fight there with Jerry Cooney, and there was all sorts of dilemma in the media coming up to the fight in relation to what it was being portrayed as. But the individual, yourself and Jerry Cooney, fought out a great fight. You emerged victorious with a stoppage victory, and afterwards you sort of blossomed into a blossoming friendship as well.
Well, Jerry Cooney was he was one of the great fighters. You know, one of the hard punches. He was the white hope that a lot of people betted on. So he will beat me because, you know, I was getting older and Jerry Cooney was still young and had a lot of strength, and they didn't think I would beat him. But, you know, I told them and showed them how I can do it. With the experience, my boxing talents that I had, that I learned from Muhammad Ali, learned from Joe Frazier, learned from the Norton and stuff like that. I was the man that they had to reckon with. And if they wanted to be champions of the world, they had to fight me. And those who did take that chance, they came up short. I was the heavyweight champion of the world, one of the baddest heavyweight champions of all time.
Yeah, and there's no doubt in that, Larry. 7 years champion of the world, and most notably is some fighters came in there in relation to before they fought you. They weren't known or weren't respected, but they themselves went on to win world titles themselves, like Tim Witherspoon and Carl Williams and great fighters like that, but they weren't known before they fought Larry Holmes. And once they fought Larry Holmes and you emerged victorious, but then they were like, these guys are really, really good fighters, and they went on to claim world titles themselves.
They were good fighters, and that's what it was, good fighters. You know, they wasn't heavyweight champion material. You know, I was the man, and as long as I was heavyweight champion of the world, they could not touch me. I was the man. I was the guy to beat, and I did that for 7.5 years. I was the champion around the world, all of the world, and one of the baddest fighters ever lived on this earth.
And I suppose to be a heavyweight champion and to maintain that sort of discipline is you must have a real savage work ethic. And one of the things I did in relation to my research coming into this interview was looking at previous things about Larry Holmes, was about his work ethic and his training schedule. And in the height of your career, you were constantly training, work ethic non-stop, even days when you were off, you were still constantly training and still in go mode.
Well, you know, I worked hard, and that's what happened. I worked hard for what I want. You can't get nothing by not working hard. And for those who try to get me not to work hard, I worked harder, even harder. So I wanted to become and remain the heavyweight champion of the world. So, you know, it didn't bother me. I just was happy to get the opportunity to fight as a heavyweight champion of the world. I was heavyweight, and I just was happy that people would call me the champ, Larry Holmes.
Yeah, and I suppose, Larry, as well, that brings us on to maybe it's always a sort of not an ideal sort of situation, but a sort of situation that maybe as a young boy or growing up in the industry you thought maybe one day it might come across that I might be facing my idol, and that so happened for you when you fought Muhammad Ali. And the experience of that, I suppose, you were in your prime. Muhammad Ali was coming out of retirement, bidding to be the four times world heavyweight champion. And how difficult is a task for that? Because in some ways you have your own mission and goals to achieve, but in other ways you respect this guy so much that you want him to achieve this task, but not at your expense.
Well, I told Muhammad Ali if mine was making a date his body couldn't keep. He had his day and my day was different. So, fight him. It was a great guy. It was a good it's a great milestone for me to get in the ring and fight a guy like Muhammad Ali, one of the biggest fighters of all time. It was a great opportunity for me to show the people that I was the key man and I was the key man that to a champion of the world. So I wasn't very happy about fighting Muhammad Ali because it was in a no-win situation. I was a good fighter. Muhammad Ali had his day is gone. So I had to go out there and do the citizenship for 7.5 years.
Yeah, and I suppose, Larry Holmes, fighting Muhammad Ali, you're sort of fighting everything that surrounds Muhammad Ali, and even going into the post-match scenario and that sort of thing. Everything's built up for a Muhammad Ali success, and you're sort of seen as public enemy number one. And what's that sort of environment and atmosphere being in that so many people want Muhammad Ali to succeed at your dispense?
A hell of an environment. I mean, for me to be able to stand there and say I went up against Muhammad Ali, one great fighter. People did not want me to go in there and fight Muhammad Ali and beat Muhammad Ali. Well, everybody has a day. He had a day. So I had to do what I had to do. And I didn't worry about what people would he comes to me or whatever. But I was Larry Holmes, and I was not taking any prisoners. I was going to do what I had to do to become the champion, to stay the champion. And that's what I did.
Yeah, and I suppose, Larry, in some ways, in relation to champions, and they never forget their roots, and you never forgot your own roots of Easton, Pennsylvania, and you're known as the Easton Assassin. But so many opportunities, you give back so much to your own community. You even have a statue in a park, a bronze statue dedicated to yourself, and to feel that sort of sense of community, that was something that was always important to Larry Holmes.
Yeah, well, that was important to me because you had to live by how you live. You don't have a family, I have a wife, I have kids, I have people that look up to me, show respect, and that's what I did. So I don't really care about what I say. What I did. And I know I wanted to help me share the world. I did everything I was about my wife, my kids. We're all proud of what I accomplished, and we hope to live happy ever after.
Yeah, and Larry, in one of the biggest events in one of the world sports, and you were a prominent feature in it as well, in Rumble to the Jungle in Zaire, between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. You actually sparred as Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, and that in relation to the preparation for the fight. And what was that experience of being in Zaire at that time? And you sort of discovered certain things about Zaire itself that made you very aware and conscious as well.
It was my pleasure to be there with both times. One Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, been there fighting each other for that world title, for that world recognition. It gave me a great pleasure to be able to say that I was alive, that I've seen it, and I was there with it, and just hanging out with the greatest fighters of the time. So therefore, was so happy that we got that opportunity. As a champion out there, look back at that and say I was there.
Yeah, and I suppose as well, Larry Holmes, one of the sort of other big boxers in his prime at that stage, but probably Muhammad Ali, the stage coming out of retirement, was George Foreman. And how close, I know you worked very hard to make that fight happen with George Foreman. How close did that come to becoming a reality?
Well, it was almost there, but George, he didn't want to fight. He never really wanted to fight. So, I took it as a comment. I hope and praying that we did fight, so I can prove to the people that I was the heavyweight champion of the world and ready to fight anybody that they brought.
Yeah, and I I suppose as well, George, as well, in relation to George and champions like that, a new breed of champions came along, and when you came back for your second sort of run at it, you met guys like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, up-and-coming guys really at their prime. And what was it almost like coming back after so many years and fighting these new young bucks like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield?
Well, first of all, I didn't have enough time. I wasn't in shape. The guy I did it was money. But Mike Tyson, I have a respect for it. And the Holyfield, I have respect for it. But if I had another week or two, you would have never heard of that. I would have beat both of the guys.
And I suppose if I can ask you this, you both stood in the ring with Holyfield and Tyson in their prime as well, and who packed a more powerful punch in relation to Tyson or Holyfield?
Well, Mike Tyson hit harder than Holyfield, but I wasn't out there to try to see who hit the hardest and who fight the best. I was out there to win the fight. But Mike Tyson hit